How fun is Ritualist? This is what we actually answer today in this video. I will give you my honest take on Ritualist and explain what kind of builds actually are worthwhile playing and my general thoughts on it and how they could improve on it. Please let me know your takes in the comments down below. As always, special shout out to my dear supporters that help me keep the lights on. Now without much further ado, let's jump straight in. Before I go to Ritualist, I want to mention if you want to see any other beta event elite spec review, be sure to check out the link in the description where I discuss all of them. But now let's talk about Ritualist. Let's start with the profession mechanic. So the profession mechanic is, in my opinion, core necromancer with some kind of more spirit minion focus, which is completely fine. I think that's a good idea because people asked for that and that's what they got. 3 new spirits with a somewhat boring auto attack and a very strong 5 skill that is a teleport, instant cast, really strong. Necromancer was really slow in core. Necromancer Shroud in general, like Necromancer is not the fastest class, but with a teleport on the 5 skill in Shroud on a 25-second cooldown, oh yeah, this is a good one. The spirits itself, I think they have a clear identity. One is healing, one is CC, one is damage. I think that makes sense. There is no condi whatsoever, so this is clearly a power-based spec. Yes, some people made some crazy cooks with a condi build, in competitive modes especially, but I think this is clearly power. I think this is how it's designed. Yes, you can force it, but it's not definitely like usable in most situations. It's a power build or a support build. But we will get to the builds in a bit. So I think the profession mechanic clearly fills the role. I personally am not the biggest fan of how spirits, minions and that kind of stuff in Guild Wars 2 interact. I think that's a little bit boring. I want to have my agency of my build on my own gameplay and not on some kind of passive AI. But that's just me. I think if people like that, this is what the spec actually provides, and then it's actually quite fun. And the power level of it is definitely very high in all game modes. That much is for sure. The spirit's power level, I mean. Then we go to the weapon skills. So the utility skills, sorry for the weird interaction there, but it's the utility skills for the Ritualist, the weapon spells. They are, in my opinion, they have a cool design, but they are not that useful in a lot of situations. There is one that is really good in competitive modes. There are 2 or 3 that are actually quite useful in PvE on a specific build. But I think it's more like you use them for a certain situation. It's not like you run a full set of those and they are just a little bit, I feel like they could get a little bit of buffs. I think they are not too crazy. Especially the elite skill feels like it's if you look at the Paragon one, or if you look at the Troubadour one, they are just way better than the Ritualist one. So I get the idea of it, that you can share it also with your spirits and your minions, but I think it's not the most interesting design. Maybe someone that had played a lot of Guild Wars 1 actually disagrees and the nostalgia there is really cool. I get that. I just think the design of it is not too interesting. And is it good? Yeah, to some extent it is, but I think it's not the most interesting thing. I think what is for me quite interesting on Ritualist are the traits. The traits actually change quite a bit how you play, especially in PvE where you either do the power or the healer variant. I think that's actually quite interesting how you play the game, this spec. I like that. And in general, I think the traits are not the best, but also not the worst. I think some of the traits, like 3 or so, they could get some reworks because they feel underpowered. But I think that's the case for most elite specs, that some traits are just the go-to option and other ones are not like that useful. So I think some of the traits need some help, but that's about it. I think in general, Ritualist is in a middle spot for me. It's not too bad, it's not too good how it's designed and how it feels. It's also, now let's talk about the build. If you talk about PvE, the numbers are surprisingly low. I really think the numbers are, for a power build, really low. It's not able to reach 40k DPS as a full DPS build. The build itself has a lot of utility baked into the kit and is very tanky and somewhat easy to play. So I think it's actually quite fine that it doesn't have the highest benchmark numbers, but it's obviously for people that want to have a crazy damage number on their Ritualist and have the really crazy headcanon of being a Ritualist with summon minions and has crazy DPS. It's not really there. It's more like the tankiness and flexibility of it and utility it provides that it makes worthwhile using, not the DPS itself. The quickness Ritualist is actually really strong in my opinion. It doesn't have the craziest damage number. It's like quite close to quickness Herald, for example, which is one of the lowest DPS quickness builds that they exist, but it has very good utility. You provide some stability, you have really good boon output, and you easily kept 25 might, for example, which is crazy as a power quickness DPS build. So your support does not have to do anything. They can just do whatever they want and they have 25 stacks of might anyway on their party. So I think it's actually, the more support you play the Ritualist, the more useful it becomes. because then it actually provides more things than just DPS, because the DPS is not that high. Like I said, Condi is not viable, and if you play a healer, which is obviously also doable for this build, and I personally think the healing build is for me the most fun. I like to play supports in games, especially in Guild Wars 2, and I think the healer here for Ritualist is actually quite fun. Why is that? Because you actually feel the potency of your spirits. It's like crazy how much they heal, how much boon output they have, and you are easily able to out-heal the extremely damaging field that you can see in the background, and the boon output is also very strong. You have a lot of stability, you have a lot of just all the good boons that you need, and the only thing that is really lacking in that build is like the channel like Reflect or something like that. But if that's not necessary in a fight, yeah, you're completely fine. It's a really, really good healer in my opinion. And it's very simple to play. It's one of the most simple healers to play. You just dip in the shroud, use your spirits, and come back out after they cast their attack. And you just are very flexible, use your staff skills, and that's about it. Maybe dodge from time to time and you are covered. So I think it's really simple to play, and I liked it. That's a good design. So I think Ritualist in PvE has a spot, and that's good. I like it. Even though I don't like the general design of having a spirit army, that's not for me, but I can definitely see why people would play it. Now let's talk about the competitive modes. I think the competitive modes are weird. Why is that? Because in PvP, you play some kind of Scourge mirror, yeah, the same interactions that Scourge had just before they nerfed it 2-3 weeks ago or something. This is the same build on Ritualist, like with Avatar and just really tanky, and you do surprising amounts of damage while still being extremely sustained and tanky. Why is that? Because you can heal in your shroud. If you use your force skill in the shroud, it's really, really strong. So highly overpowered, just best build for Ritualist in PvP right now, and it's surprisingly good in World vs. World as well. But I would say it's a thing that they will definitely address. It will not be as overpowered when it comes out, I think, in competitive modes. I think it needs a little bit of like nudging where it wants to be, if it wants to be a support or if it wants to be a full DPS or both. I think they should definitely make them like some ideas how they want to be it played, especially in World vs. World. I'm not sure if you would play it as a full support there. It is very good in output there in terms of boons and healing, so maybe it's a good support there. The spirits are not targetable, so that's quite nice as well, so you can actually make some use there, but they are reflectable, so it's not that good as a DPS, so I'm not sure if it will be played in a Circ, but as a DPS, but as a roamer I can actually see this build being decent as well. So in general, I think in competitive modes, it's definitely a very good build. In PvE, it has its strength and its weaknesses, and I personally think its design is actually quite good. I would say overall, it's more in the topper part of the elite specs. It's not my most favorite one, especially from the fantasy, but in the terms of power level and how it feels, it's actually quite good. It has still some issues, like I said, with the utility skills. I'm not completely sold on all of them, and some of the traits need some help, but in general, I'm actually quite happy with how Ritualist feels, and I think the Necromancer mains can actually say, oh, that's a good spec, I can look forward to the Visions of Eternity expansion. I hope that you're also hyped for the expansion. Let me know your takes on Ritualist in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks a lot for watching, thanks again to all my supporters, and I hope to see you all in the next video.